How's your practice been, lovely?
I've done, I think, 4 short sessions.
Brilliant. Amazing.
Which is better. But what I realise, so it's all about learning our ways, isn't it? I think that if I'm doing other exercise, I don't have to do yoga, but that's not the case.
What other exercise are you doing?
I've been swimming, and I've been cycling more, and just some walks.
Yeah.
So I've been quite tired, but actually it gives me something different, obviously. And I still need to do that little bit of, you know, what I get from yoga. So yes, I need to, that's one of the ways that I avoid.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's interesting to be able to spot these things, isn't it, in ourselves? And and tell you, I was just saying to other people that I'm not going to be teaching next week because it's Eid and I'm going to London. But after our practice discussions, I'm going to take a week off Zoom in August and just do 5 mornings in my gardens. So that was an idea for practice. So I'm going to email out about that anyway.
Okay, sounds interesting.
Socially distanced in my garden. So
okay, lovely.
So lie down. We're going to lie down. We're going to start now, and let me mute everyone. So just settling down into your backs. And yes, so one of the discussions, some of you were here last Friday, we had a discussion about practice, and which obviously doing a bit of yoga on our own. And so in August for a week, I'm going to do a little class Monday to Friday every morning in my garden, which is going to be more of a lead practice. So sort of in keeping with that theme. Hi, Alice. We're lying down when you're ready. So I'm sure will be popular. So on your backs, just maybe 2 or 3 big sighing breaths, and just settling, arriving, taking those few quiet moments to gather yourselves. And I suppose when we're talking about practice, Hilary, and that what does yoga give us, it's maybe this quiet, this, just stopping and sensing inward. So lying quietly, what you could start is just a little bit of letting your head roll to the right and to the left. So easing your head from side to side. And I think also this noticing, that's what yoga gives us, this noticing, how do we feel? How does our neck feel as we let our head roll from side to side? How do our shoulders feel? And these physical sensations can tell us a lot about how we're also feeling inside of ourselves. So, you know, if our neck and shoulders are feeling tight, it might be that, you know, we're feeling a little bit stressed. Or things are busy in our life. And then from rolling your head from side to side, find a comfortable place to settle your head down, somewhere in the centre, with the centre of the back of your head resting on the floor. And if your legs are long, you're going to bend your knees and bring your feet to stand on the floor. And take a moment to feel the contact of your footprints on the ground, the back of your pelvis on the ground. And then you're going to start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. So one of the things we're going to explore today is some of these really familiar things. So this is really familiar. So quite often, or very often, we start a class like this. Lying on our backs, knees bent, tilting our knees to the right and to the left, and seeing how it feels. And so these familiar things can be soothing and calming. We know what we're doing. The familiarity helps us to settle and arrive. And we're going to be contrasting these with some new things, which maybe, you know, spark our imagination. Good. So from here, let your knees settle down. Keep your left knee bent, keep your left foot standing on the floor, and lengthen your right leg out on the ground. So coming into another very familiar movement, what I'd like you to do here is start that movement of pressing down into your left foot, letting the left side of the pelvis come away from the floor and letting your pelvis tilt towards the right. That's it. So the right side of the pelvis is not picking up. The right leg stays heavy, but perhaps you roll a bit towards the outer edge of the right leg as the pelvis lifts on the left. And just keep repeating this movement a few times. It might be that you coordinate your out breath with the pressing into the left foot. So as you exhale, you press down into your left foot. You feel the left side of your pelvis comes away from the floor. And then you stop pressing into your foot, your pelvis comes back down onto the floor on the left. So perhaps do this once or twice more. And then let your pelvis settle back down on the floor. And you're going to fold that left knee into your chest. That's nice. And hold around the top of the knee or around the back of your thigh. So whatever's more comfortable. And just let the left leg be sort of quiet and heavy, resting down towards your chest. You could, a couple of times as you exhale, stretch into your right heel. So the long leg heel, you can stretch into that. You could spread your toes and then let that leg relax. So what we're thinking about is, can we, by stretching into our right heel, by spreading our toes, can we encourage that right leg to feel even heavier on the floor when we let it go? Good. So let the right leg go. And then you're going to bend your right knee and bring your right foot to stand on the floor. But keep your left knee folded into your chest. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of just sort of playing around here. Two ways we can do this. Taking the left leg up towards the ceiling. So we can do this either keeping the knee bent and the thigh close to the chest, and you could maybe catch your hands onto your left ankle or your shin. Some of you might even be able to catch onto your toes. So that's with your left knee bent. And you can also lengthen your left leg towards the ceiling, letting the knee straighten, and you can hold around the back of your thigh. And when you straighten your leg, you could do a little bit of circling into your ankle, or pointing your ankle, pointing your toes, pointing your heel. So I just want you to have a little bit of a play around with taking that left leg towards the ceiling, both with the knee bent and also with the knee straight. And try to hold on to your leg in some way with your hands. Good. I think someone else is joining us. Very exciting. And what you can also do then is you could see how it feels. Hi, Donna. Hello. So Donna, we're on our backs with our left leg in the air. We're doing a bit of this. We're doing a bit of this. Okay, with the left leg up. And is that someone else has joined us as well? Hi, Al. Yes, so if you haven't lengthened your right leg out on the floor, you could do that now. Yeah, that's it. And then I think what we'll do, yes, so when you've lengthened your right leg out on the floor, the same thing, you can take the left leg up to the ceiling with the knee bent and with the leg long. So I think Alison and Donna in a moment will go on to side 2. So Al, we were doing a bit of, with the left foot on the floor, we were doing a bit of this one. And then we're doing a bit of taking our leg up to the ceiling with our knee bent and our leg long. but we're nearly ready to move on to side 2. So just do whatever you feel like. Okay. Lovely. And then, yes, those of you who've been here a little while, lengthen both legs out on the floor now and just lie long. And yeah, Alison and Donna, just do whatever you like. So the left leg was up towards the ceiling for everyone. And those of you who've been here a little while, lengthen both legs out on the floor. Yeah, that's it. Maybe bounce the knees, roll the legs, let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then what we're all going to do is bend the right knee, stand the right foot on the floor. Keep the left leg long. So we're coming to this foot pressing movement. So as we exhale, pressing down into our right foot, letting the right side of the pelvis come away from the floor, letting the pelvis tilt to the left. So this is how we started off. So pressing down into the right foot, letting the right side of the pelvis lift away from the floor. You keep the contact of the left side of the pelvis on the floor, but perhaps the weight shifts more towards the outer edge of the pelvis, the outer edge of the left leg. And just a couple more times on this side. Yes, Al, you might want to join us in a moment, pressing down into the right foot with the left leg long on the ground. So Linda, we had the right knee bent, the right foot standing on the floor, the left leg long. So maybe one more time as you exhale, pressing down into your right foot, letting the right side of the pelvis come away from the floor. And then let your pelvis settle on the ground and fold your right knee in towards your chest and hold around the top of your knee or the back of your thigh. And have a couple of breaths there. So just let that right leg be quiet, resting onto your chest. And as you exhale, you can stretch into your left heel and spread your left toes. So this is the long leg. We can stretch into the heel, spread the toes, and then let that leg relax and be heavy. And then again, stretch into the heel, spread the toes, and then let the leg relax. Good. And then from here, you're going to bend your left knee, bring your left foot to stand on the floor. Keep the right knee folded into your chest. And then we're going to do just like we did on the other side, these little experiments of taking our right leg up towards the ceiling. You can either have the right knee bent, the right thigh close to your chest. You could catch your shin, your ankle, maybe your toes or the side of your foot. And you can also lengthen your right leg up towards the ceiling, letting the knee straighten, catching around the back of your thigh. If you've got long hamstrings, you may, or short legs like me, you may find you can catch your toes with your legs straight as well. Just have a little play around with how is it to have the leg straight? How is it to have the knee bent? It's quite nice when you do lengthen the leg out to, that's it, circle into the ankle or point the toes, point the heels. So particularly if you've been doing anything, I mean, any running, lots of walking, those things feel really good. And then whenever you want to, you can see how it feels to lengthen out the left leg on the floor. So you're still taking your right leg up towards the ceiling, but now you've lengthened your left leg out on the floor. So it might be slightly harder to take the right leg up. See how it is. It might be, yeah, just see how it is. Again, you can circle into the ankle. You can point the heels, point the toes. Good. Whenever, of course, whenever you've had enough with your leg up in the air, just come and let that leg lengthen out on the floor next to the other leg. You can give your legs a little bit of a bounce, bounce the knees, roll the legs, lie long on the floor. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then from here, you're going to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor once more. So take a moment again to feel the contact of the soles of your feet on the floor, to feel the back of your pelvis on the floor. And then start to let your knees again tilt to the right and to the left. So coming back to, so for some of you, this is the first time we've done this today. Some of you coming back to this movement, this familiar movement. And I was talking a little bit earlier about how sometimes in yoga we repeat things, and there's a real benefit to doing things that are familiar, because that helps to soothe us. You know, we can also, it helps us to monitor, you know, how our body is. Hopefully we're making little, you know, funny things easier. That's nice. But most of all, I think it's just this soothing thing. We come into something familiar. We can settle. Good. Pause in the middle and take your feet wider apart, so they're as wide as the narrow edge of your mat. And then come to tilting the knees again. And just see, and make sure as you do this, sometimes when we take the feet wider, the knee that's going to the outside doesn't go as far as it could do. So just pay attention to that. Yes, and you are going to, exactly, Linda, if you want to, from tilting your knees from side to side, you can let the knees come all the way down on the floor on one side. And if you've got a cushion to hand, you might like to slide a cushion under one of your knees, or both, depending how many cushions you have available. So the knees can drop down to the floor on one side, if that's comfortable, and you can let your head roll in the opposite direction. Wow, Sarah, that looks like a pretty impressive big pink beanbag you have there. So very good. Good. So have a few breaths if it's comfortable, letting the knees come all the way down to the floor on one side. If it's not so comfortable, just keep rocking from side to side. So if you have a few breaths with your knees on one side, then have a few breaths taking the knees to the other side. And your head rolls in the opposite direction to the knees. And then coming back to the center and folding both knees in towards your chest. So hold around the top of the knees or around the back of your thighs. You can have a few quiet breaths here, or you can rock. You can rock side to side, or you can do a bit more sort of circling around the back of your pelvis. Yes, and exactly, Sarah, we will do a bit of also taking the legs up to the ceiling and shaking them out. So whenever you fancy doing that, taking both legs up to the ceiling, shaking them out. Yes, Linda, adding the arms in as well. Very nice, wonderful. So it's always, yes, one of my favourite moments on Zoom, seeing everyone's legs up in the air. Fantastic, yes, there we go. And so from here, you're going to roll onto one side and have a few breaths there. And then we're coming over to sit in cobbler pose, and Sarah T in kneeling for you. And we're going to be coming into pinwheel, but we're going to be doing our pinwheel twist today. So slightly different than usual. So yeah, so if cobbler pose is okay for you, in cobbler pose. If it's not, then sitting in kneeling. And you could be leaning back onto your hands, depending how it feels. So yeah, just won't be here long. We're going to be moving on into pinwheel. So from here, we can let one knee come on top of the other knee, and then slide that leg back. So coming on into pinwheel. And so what I thought we would do today for a little bit of variety in our pinwheel is our pinwheel twist. So you're going to lean onto the hand. So the knee that's going out to the side, you're going to lean onto that hand. So we tend to have more weight on that side anyway, and we're going to go with that. And then to start with, you're going to, with your fingers, draw a sort of semicircle from your back foot round to your hand. So you can just sort of, trail your fingers round. And as you do this movement, feel that actually your pelvis can come with you. So as you turn towards your hand, your weight is shifting more into this leg. Yeah. So the legs are not really moving a huge amount on the floor, but the weight is definitely shifting in your pelvis. Good. And then start to swing this arm a little bit more. So you're then giving yourself a slap on the back of your shoulder. So it can feel quite nice. Okay. And then from here, we can keep our hand on our shoulder. We can sink down into our supporting arm and let our pelvis come. And then come down. And just try that a couple of times. So the arm swings round onto our shoulder. We sink down. We let our pelvis come up. And then there's one final stage that you may well know. The hand comes onto the back of the shoulder. The pelvis comes up. We take our arm up and we follow our fingers with our gaze. And then we come all the way back down. Good. So let's do it a couple more times. So swing the arm round onto the shoulder, sink into your hand, lift your pelvis, follow your fingertips with your gaze. Coming back down again. So one last time, swing the arm round, sink into the hand, the pelvis lifts, we follow the fingers with the gaze all the way up to the ceiling. And then this time when you come down, we're coming into the pinwheel forward bend. So you're going to fold forwards over this knee and leg, this thigh. And have a few quiet breaths in your pinwheel forward bend. Settling your weight down to the floor. So again, this is a very sort of familiar place for us to be. So hopefully by being familiar, it's soothing and settling. We can let ourselves settle into it, soften, breathe. And then slowly walking your hands back in towards you. So we're going to swap onto the second side of pinwheel. So Sarah, come into kneeling, Sarah T. The rest of you come into this side sit. Open your legs out into cobbler pose for a moment, and then on to side 2 of pinwheel. We could just do a little bit of circling. And then again, the same thing, we're going to lean into, so the knee that's turning out to the side, well, it's obvious, isn't it? We're leaning into the other arm now. Good, and we start this first bit of drawing a sort of circle with our fingertips from the back foot around the supporting hand. Letting the body follow, so the shoulders follow, that's very nice, the pelvis comes along. Our weight is shifting into this, the leg nearest to the arm. And then you can start the slapping on your shoulder. So all of these movements are sort of nice little twists, which are bringing some movement into our ribs, into the shoulders, that's nice. And also this sense of the whole body coming along together. So the next time you slap yourself on your back, you can then lean down into your hands, let your pelvis come up, and come back down. So we know where we're going this side, so you might want to let your arm come up this time. Look up towards your hand, and then you reverse the movement. You come back down, you reverse that movement all the way out, and then the arm swings round again, hand on the back of your shoulder. pelvis comes up, looking up. Let's do that once or even twice more if you like. So swinging your hand around, sinking into your arm, looking up towards the ceiling, back down. If you want to do it once more, that's up to you. If you're ready to come into your pinwheel forward bend, then you can come and fold the weight of your body down over your thigh and have a few quiet breaths there, settling down to the floor. Good. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. So have maybe another cycle of breath in your forward bend. And then walking your hands in towards you. And when you come up this time, you're going to lean back on your hands and lengthen your legs out in front of you. And so it's really up to you now. If you can have your legs long like this, or if you're someone who likes your legs wide, you could, for a couple of breaths, you could have your legs wide. So, and from here, we're going to be coming through dog pose and forward bend and up into standing and doing some things from there. So just thinking, do I need to show you anything? No, let's do that. Let's come up into standing. So when you're ready, come onto hands and knees. And we're going to come back onto hands and knees a bit later on. So we're just really going to use this as a way of coming up into standing. So planting the hands down, tucking the toes under. As you exhale, rock your hips back over your heels. Pick your knees up off the floor, come into dog pose. And it's just really a sort of first dog pose. It may all feel a bit stiff and creaky. That's fine. Have a few breaths here, bending, maybe walking on the spot, bending one knee, bending the other knee. And then from dog pose, we're going to be walking the hands in towards the feet, coming into a forward bend. Letting the head go, letting the arms go. And then having an as you exhale, rolling from your forward bend up into standing. And arriving in standing on your mats eventually. So we'll be obviously doing some more forward bends, some more dog pose. Let's just settle for a moment, look at the feet, feel ourselves in standing for a minute, see how the shoulders feel, dropping the arms, yes, adjusting the devices if you want to. And we're going to start as we often do. So again, something familiar, this one, loose, easy, swinging twist. So in a way, we're following on from the movements we were doing in pinwheel, letting the whole of the body come along with these swinging movements of the arms, both arms now. And again, you could be slapping your hands onto the sides of your body if you so wish. And so again, when we're thinking about home practice, that, you know, doing the things that are familiar is, you know, is a good thing. Those familiar things will help us to settle, help us to ease out tension. Let's let this one go. Let's come back to settling the feet down, hip width apart and parallel. And let a breath come in, and as you exhale, bring your arms up. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm not sort of cut off. And we're going to start doing this one where we're reaching up. So reaching up into the right arm, then the left arm. As you reach up into an arm, you're shifting your weight into that foot. So we feel really long through one side of the body and then the other. So again, this is quite a familiar thing. We often do this when we first come into standing. finding this length through the sides of the body. And sometimes by doing more familiar things from here, we're going to come into a forward bend. We then maybe find the different things. So sweeping down into a forward bend. If you need to support your lower back, bend your knees, rest your elbows on your thighs. Let your head go. If you can, let your arms go. If your back's happy with that, let your arms go. Feel your heels rooting down into the ground. Maybe another cycle or two of breath. And then as you exhale, rolling back up into standing. Good. So we're going to come to working with this balance where we come up onto the balls of both feet. And we're going to do some familiar things and then actually something a little bit different. So just a few times, how does it feel to rock your weight forwards onto the balls of your feet and find this little balance where we're on the balls of the feet, our heels are off the ground. So we're asking the toes to bend a lot and we're finding support through the arches of the feet. So this is really good for the feet. If your feet are not so keen on it, then don't do it or don't go very high. Okay, the next time you come up, if you feel steady, bring your arms up as well. The arms float up. Keep the shoulders nice and relaxed and heavy. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Good. Another breath or two. And then from here, you're going to roll, come back down, and again, you're going to sweep forwards into a forward bend. Good. Have a couple of breaths in your forward bend. So yes, Al, I was wondering how your feet are and whether those ones are not so good for your feet. So is that your ankles feeling? Yeah, so do whatever feels good for you. Or what works. Roll back into standing. I'm just going to show you what we're going to do next. So we're going to use, actually we're going to use one mudra first of all. So what we're going to do this time is touch the thumb and index fingers together. When you've come up onto the balls of your feet, you're going to have your arms out to the side. If you see, my palms are facing up. And then we'll take the arms up, touching the thumb and index finger, and see how that feels. And then there's a further variation, but we'll do that one in a moment. So it's, yeah. So before, let's see, yeah, maybe before you come up onto the balls of your feet, touch your thumb and index finger together and then let your weight shift forwards onto the balls of your feet. And then from here, you can bring your arms out wide to the side. So I always used to think this is a really, why didn't we do this in yoga, like a tightrope walker? And actually it makes me feel less stable these days, but maybe that's just habit. And then let the arms come up, keeping the shoulders down. Good. And have a few breaths here if that's possible. Letting the shoulders drop. Good. Okay, when your own time come down, have a little shake out. So there's one further variation. So we're going to come into this mudra now. So we're going to start off just like we did, arms out to the side, arms up. Then you're going to bring your hands down in front of your chest. The right hand will come to face forwards. You're still touching the thumb and index finger. The left hand faces towards your chest. And then you touch the right thumb and index finger onto the left middle finger in front of your chest. Okay. This is dharmachakra mudra. So we've sat with this one before in meditation and we will later today. So yeah, so let's see how we get on with this. And then we're going to try it in some another balance later on. So again, starting point, touching the thumb and index fingers together. Let a breath come in as you exhale, coming up onto the balls of your feet. letting your arms come wide to the side, maybe for a cycle of breath, palms facing upwards. And then let your arms come up, so your hands are more sort of over your shoulders, but the shoulders are relaxed. And then from here, still balancing, bring your hands down in front of your chest. So the right hand faces away from your chest, the left hand faces towards your chest, and you're touching the thumb and index finger of the right hand to the middle finger of the left hand. Good. And just settle there for a moment. Interesting, isn't it? With all that to focus on, it's maybe easier to balance. Well done. Come down, have a little shake out. We're going to come back to those mudras in a different balance later on, but we're going to do some little sort of sequencey things now, and we're going to be coming into a little sequence which brings us between sort of standing back arch and into some lunges. So Sarah, just sort of mini lunges for you. So come towards the front of your mat and bring your hands into prayer pose. So we'll make this a little bit like sun salute. It's almost like the beginning of sun salute. So take a moment to feel your footprints on the floor. You're going to let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let the breath come in. Just feel long and tall here. And then you're going to roll down into a forward bend. In your forward bend, you need to have your fingertips on the floor, so you may need to bend your knees a bit. Fingertips either side of your feet, stepping your right foot back into lunge. Now, it might be when you come down here, so we want to have our front knee over our front heel. You might find that you can walk your back leg away a little bit more. So this first lunge is just a normal lunge. Just how does it feel to be in lunge? Can we organise ourselves while Sarah T, obviously not walking your leg back too much. Exhaling, giving the weight of the pelvis to the floor. Another breath or two in lunge. And then we're going to step that foot back into our forward bend, and we're going to step the left foot back into lunge. So can we push off a bit with the back leg, sink into the front foot, come back into a forward bend, let the head go. And then can we exhale and step the left foot back? So we're back into a lunge with the right foot's forwards. So again, check in that you've got your knee over your heel, that you've walked your back leg away as much as you can. So we get that feeling of a stretch through the front of the back leg thigh. And we have a few breaths here in our lunge. Giving the pelvis down to the ground. And then this time, when we step back into the forward bend, we're going to roll back up into standing and even into a little back arch if you like. So from here again, we push off with the back foot, hands just leaving for a run if you want to waving. Step forwards into your forward bend. And then in your forward bend, touch the backs of your hands together. Exhaling, rolling up into standing, trailing your hands up the front of your body. When your arms are up, you might like to let your pelvis come forwards and look up. Bending your knees if you like, for a little standing back arch. And then bring your hands down in front of you, back into prayer pose. So we're going to go through that whole little sequence with a couple of different lunges. So hands together in prayer pose. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let the breath come in, drop your shoulders down, and then exhaling down into your forward bend. So remember, fingertips on the floor, might need to bend the knees a bit. Exhale, step the right foot back into lunge. Now in this lunge, we're going to walk the front foot, the left foot, out to the side. So both our hands come into the inside of our left foot. Now, it might be interesting just to see here, can you get your hands flat on the floor? It doesn't matter too much for this lunge, but for the next one, if you can't, you might want to book under your hands. If you like, you could tuck your back toe under and let your back knee come off the ground just for a really delightful stretch here. And we're leaning into the hands, which is why it's helpful to have the hands flat on the floor. So if you have got a book to hand, you know, if your hands won't go flat and you have got a book to hand, it might be good to use it. Bring your knee back down, walk that front foot back in between your hands. And then we're going to swap sides in the lunge, going into our forward bend. So exhaling, right foot comes forwards into your forward bend, let your head go, step your left foot back. Arrive in that lunge, and then when you're ready, it's walking your right foot out to the side, bring your hands onto the inside of that foot. See how it feels to support yourself through your hands. So Sarah, I think for you, it's really, you see how your wrists get on. You could be on your knuckles here, that's absolutely fine. But again, particularly if you're going to take your back knee off the ground, the more you can support yourself through your arms, a bit like in plank pose, the more it's not too much of a, you know, you don't overstretch through the front of the pelvis. So that's it, taking the back knee off if you like. And then let your back knee come back down to the floor. Walk that right foot back in between your hands. So we're going to step the back foot forwards, back into our forward bend. Arrive in your forward bend, let your head go. Touch the backs of your hands together. As you exhale, rolling up into standing, taking your arms up towards the ceiling, letting your pelvis come forward. So coming into your standing back arch if you like. If your lower back needs, it'd be better for your lower back to bend your knees, so you can drop your tailbone, do that. So we're going to do one last coming down into a lunge, and this time it's going to be a lunge twist. So if you would like to have a book or a block under your hands, then grab something now. And if you also, like me, need a drink of water, grab a drink of water. And then, so last time, hands in prayer pose at the front of your mat. Having your block or your book to hand. And then letting a breath come in as you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Drop the shoulders, let a breath come in. Rolling down into your forward bend. Let a breath come in and then step the right foot back as you exhale. So I'm now thinking I might swing around just so I don't have to turn away from you. So we've got the left foot here forwards. We're going to stand our right hand on the floor or the block. Our left hand is going to come on the back of our pelvis. So we're turning towards the left leg, which is the front leg, unless we've got very confused. Okay, so we're turning here. We're trying to maintain this turn as we, if you like, let the back knee come off the floor, back toes tucked under, and then reaching forwards with your left arm. So there's this long lengthening from the front fingertips to the back heel. A couple of breaths here. It can feel a little bit challenging. You don't need to stay there too long. And then untwisting. Let the back knee come down. Untwist back into your normal lunge. You're going to step your back foot forwards into your forward bend. Have a moment, let your head go in your forward bend, and then you're going to step your left foot back. And again, I'll just swing around so I don't have to turn away from you. So you've got your right foot forwards now. You're standing your left foot on the floor, no, your left hand on the floor, where your missing foot would be. Right hand on the back of your pelvis, turning towards this front leg. Even if you're not going to take your back knee off the ground, it's good to have your toes tucked under. Helps to keep your pelvis sort of central and so it's not twisting. We can then let the back knee come off if we like. We can then reach forwards with our right arm. So we turn towards that front leg. Good. Good. And then letting the back knee come down. Untwisting back into your normal lunge. We're going to step that back foot forwards into our forward bend. One last time, rolling up into standing, into our little back arch. So backs of the hands can touch. We can roll all the way up into our little standing back arch. Good. Okay. And then I had this great plan that we would then just turn around and have the whole of the mat in front of us. But at this point, it might mean that you've got your back towards me. So if you don't want to do that, just come down to the other end of your mat. So you've got the mat in front of you, because we're going to come down through a forward bend and dog pose. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to go into a forward bend. We're going to walk our hands into dog. Few breaths in dog. Then you're going to walk your hands a bit further and come into plank, and then fold down into child. So you can, let's do our sun salute hands again. So hands in prayer pose, letting a breath come in, exhaling, taking your arms down and then up. Let the breath come in and then rolling down into a forward bend, letting your head go. Have a couple of breaths in your forward bend. Again, do bend your knees, rest your elbows on your thighs if your back needs the support. And then when you're ready, walking your hands on into dog pose. And just see where you want to take your hands to for dog, where feels a good length to go to. And have a few breaths in dog. You could be bending one knee at a time, you could be bending both knees. And then you're going to take your hands a little bit further forward, so make it into a longer dog, so that you then could see how it feels to rock your shoulders forwards, let your pelvis come down into plank pose. And you may not be quite the right length, but just see how it feels. Can you come into this long straight line of plank? And then from plank, we're going to do another one in a moment. You don't need to stay there too long. Fold down, untuck your toes, fold down into child pose. Have a few quiet breaths. Kate, lie on your belly if that's better, if you prefer to be in kneeling. So that's it, Alison. Dog into plank pose. So you walk your hands further forwards. That's very nice. Good. Into a long plank pose. Or face up dog if you like. We'll do some of that in a moment. Good. So just a few quiet breaths in child pose, letting your hands and wrists. Oh, it's very nice to see Wilf on the bed, Donna. You're so cute. Yeah, sorry. So, yes, child pose, lying on your belly. Kate, are you able to do child pose? No, we'll lie on your belly then, that's fine. Lying on the belly's nice. Just a couple of quiet breaths wherever you are. Yes, if you want to join Kate lying on her belly, you're absolutely welcome to do that. It's so funny, Donna. Otto does exactly that same thing where he has his four legs, his front feet off the bed or the sofa, and his back legs on it. I think it's so comical. So from child pose or lying on the belly, we're going to come onto hands and knees, and we're going to do some cat movements, which usually we do much earlier on in class. So we'll see how they feel now. So settling on hands and knees. And then just how does it feel? So it might feel quite nice at this point, sort of right in the middle of class, to come to rounding the back to the ceiling, letting the head hang, dipping the spine down to the floor. Just these movements of the spine. So what we're trying to feel here is this sense of the spine undulating, making these gentle curves, first in one direction, up towards the ceiling, and then dipping down towards the floor. So we could think about when the spine rounds towards the ceiling, it's like a soft hill. And when the spine dips down towards the floor, it's like a very gentle valley. Just a couple more times, finding these rounding and dipping movements for your spine. And then we're going to try and settle in neutral place where we're neither rounding nor dipping, because we're going to come back into plank pose and possibly have an extra breath or two here, because we'll probably feel a bit more that we can find the better length for plank from here. So starting with the shoulders over the wrists, the spine in neutral. Lengthen one leg back behind you, tuck your toes under, take the other leg back behind you. Try to feel yourself in this long straight line of plank. Shoulders, hips and heels all in a straight line, resting down through the bones of the arms, seeing if you can breathe. If you can have another cycle of breath there, do so. Really stretch the heels away from you. And then let your knees come down onto the floor. Sit back over your heels and give your hands a bit of a shake out. And maybe also do this one where you bring the backs of your hands together. Yeah, because we're going to do a little bit of face up dog now. So we're asking a little bit more of the wrists. So first of all, let's just try being in this long hands and knees position. So this sort of position where we're not doing anything particularly with the spine, we're just rocking the pelvis forwards, and we're getting a little bit of the taste of how does face up dog feel? How does our lower back feel? And, you know, it might feel, especially after all those lunges, we might feel perfectly comfortable letting our pelvis hang off our spine here. If your lower back would benefit with a bit more lengthening out, tuck your toes under, round your back to the ceiling, rock your hips back over your heels, let a breath come in, and then travel forwards, rounding your back, all the way into face up dog, untucking the toes, that's it. Then we can do that one again. We can reverse the movement, tuck the toes under, round the back to the ceiling, rock the hips back over the heels. And then again, traveling forwards, rounding the back until our shoulders are over our wrists. We let the pelvis go, we untuck the toes. Do one more of those if you like, and then we'll have a couple of breaths in child, and then we'll just do one more way into face up dog. So one last time if you like in this way. So traveling into face up dog with your back really rounded, you're looking at your pelvis. The very last thing that happens is you start to look forwards. And then this time let yourself rock back without tucking your toes under, so you can rock back into child. Or lie on your belly, Kate, or sit in kneeling. So whichever one you prefer, kneeling, child, or lying on your belly. Just letting yourself be quiet. Letting the breath move through you. Okay, so what we're going to do now, again, if you need to come into kneeling, maybe give your hands a shake out, maybe bring the backs of the hands together. We'll just do a little bit on coming in and out, into child pose, into face up dog with our swinging our pelvis from side to side. So again, it's longer hands and knees. We're finding this sort of tail wagging, more sort of snaky side to side movement that brings us forwards into face up dog, and then all the way back into child pose. And just a few times finding, if you can, the sort of comfortable, enjoyable journey, this side to side movement of the pelvis, taking you forwards, taking you back. And from here, you could go straight from your face up dog if you like, or from hands and knees. We're going to come through dog and a forward bend back into standing. Good. So yes, take as much time as you like in your dog or in your forward bend. Very nice. Coming back into standing when you're ready. And we're going to come back to another couple of balances. So we're first of all going to do a very familiar balance in a very familiar way. And then we're going to add those mudras back in that we did earlier and see how we get on. So again, it's this sense of contrasting something that's very familiar and maybe soothing. The balance can be soothing with something less familiar. So first thing to do, settle in standing. Maybe closing your eyes and just a little bit of swaying from side to side. So you're going to choose which foot you're going to stand on first. You're obviously going to stand on both feet, but choose which one you're going to stand on first. We're going to come into tree pose. So once you've chosen which foot you're going to stand on, you can then think about where are you going to bring the other foot. So is it going to be onto the ankle, or your heel just coming above your knee, or your foot coming higher onto your inner thigh? And then just in a very sort of quiet, familiar way, bring your hands into prayer pose at your breastbone. And just see if we can settle with tree pose. We've all done this many, many times before. So how does it feel today? If we feel steady, we can take the arms up. If we're feeling a bit wobbly today, we just come back into it. So, yeah, being kind to ourselves. Just encouraging ourselves to be soothed by the familiar movement rather than stressed. Let the shoulders drop. It's always nice to gather the hands back into prayer pose and Anjali mudra at the breastbone for a few more quiet breaths if you have that in you. Come down, have a little shake out, whatever you need to do between sides. So I can see some of you going into forward bends, which we'll do after both sides, but if you want to go into a forward bend now, might be that you just want to settle back into standing. And we'll see how it feels then to come to stand on the other foot. So taking your time, there's no rush. Settling your weight on your second foot, we gradually peel the other foot off the floor. We decide where we're going to bring our foot. Ankle, heel just above the knee, or foot onto the inner thigh. And then we can gather the hands into prayer pose. Just encouraging ourselves to settle. Doesn't matter if we feel wobbly, sometimes we can sort of withstand the wobbles and stay balancing. Sometimes we come out and we just come back in. Yes, the arms could grow up. This is when we feel most tree-like. Feeling the flow of the breath through the body. And then gathering the hands back into prayer pose at the breastbone. Seeing how it feels to stay maybe for a few more breaths in tree. Maybe, maybe not. Good. And when you do come down from tree, maybe come into a forward bend, and then we're going to do slightly. We're going to do our tree pose again, but this time with the mudras. But yes, coming into the forward bend so we can let our head go, we can just sort of ease off on the focus for a moment. So I'm just going to remind you when you come out of your forward bend of the mudras. So we're going to come into tree pose. Once we're in tree pose, we'll then touch our hands in jnana mudra. Thumb and index finger. Now, you could come straight from there into this one, the dharmachakra. So remember, the right hand faces away, the left hand faces towards you. we're touching right thumb and index finger to left middle finger. So you could come straight to here, or we can try what we did before, arms out to the side, arms up, and then bringing the hands down to here. Okay, we'll see how we get on. So this is, yes, using the mudras just to add something a bit different to our familiar tree pose. So obviously, if you're using your hand to get your foot onto your thigh, you can't bring your hands into the mudra until you've organised yourself below the waist. So when you're ready, settling and standing, coming back to your first standing foot, and organising yourself below the waist before we start to think about the mudra. Once we're organised below the waist, we can then bring the thumb and index finger to touch in each hand. You could then go straight into dharmachakra mudra, or what's it like to bring the arms out to the side? Palms face the ceiling. And then the arms can come up, keeping the shoulders soft and relaxed. Breath or two here. And then the hands can come down in front of the chest. Right hand faces away, left hand faces towards you. Touch the thumb and index finger of the right hand to the middle finger of the left hand. How does it feel to settle here? Dropping the shoulders. Elbows can come down a little. Very nice. Brilliant, well done. So I think there's something very focusing. Shake out your arms and legs. There's something very focusing about that point of contact right in the centre of the ourselves. The index finger and thumb of the right hand, the middle finger of the left. Okay, last side, coming to stand on our second foot. So again, organising ourselves from the waist down before we start to think about the mudras. So however you're going to come into tree pose on this side. And then this first mudra, when we touch the thumb and index finger together, this is jnana mudra, wisdom mudra. So again, you could go straight into dharmachakra mudra, or you could explore that. What's it like taking the arms out to the sides? How does that feel? And then the arms up towards the ceiling. Feeling that contact of thumb and index finger. And then the hands down in front of the chest. Right hand faces away from you. Left hand faces towards you. You're touching the thumb and index finger of the right hand to the middle finger of the left hand. Seeing how it feels to settle here. Let the shoulders drop. Let the elbows come down a little. Very nice. Really amazing. Well done. Brilliant. Come down. Have a little shake out. So that mudra, we've practiced it before. We're going to come back to it in a little bit of sitting at the end of class. But it symbolises the right hand away from you, symbolises the outer world. The left hand towards you, your inner world. And the point between the two, the need for harmony between those two. So what I'd like us to do is just settle for a very sort of brief standing meditation with our arms hanging, but where we have this sense of both our inner and our outer worlds. So maybe a really helpful starting place in standing meditation is the feet. You could be swaying a little bit. Feeling the contact of the soles of your feet on the floor. So here, this is really where the outer world and the inner world meet. What's the floor? What's the sole of your feet? Do the two sort of merge together? And from swaying a bit, we can settle down and standing. Maybe we can feel the air on our skin. So this is another place, the skin, where where we merge with the outer world. The air of the outer world, the feeling of the air on our skin. Good, and just another few breaths, noticing what you can feel within you and what you're aware of, what you notice in the world around you. Maybe sounds, maybe light, maybe the presence of other people and animals. You can sway whenever you want to, be feeling your breath. Are there any other bodily sensations? Anything else that arises both within you and without you, or around you? Let's have 2 more cycles of breath here. Letting the breath come in, let the arms really hang. Letting the breath leave you. And then we're going to come and lie down onto our backs, and we're going to do a few twisty things. So I'm not sure that I need to. I'll just show you a couple of things. We'll do a bit of tilting our knees. We'll do a bit of rocking our knees like this. We're then going to do this twist. And we're then going to do this twist. Okay, where we've got one leg long. So it might be that you want to have a cushion or nearby you for the twists. So that's the only thing I'd say. Otherwise, lie down onto your back. And you're not doing anything, you're just lying down to start with. And see how that feels. It'd be quite nice. Just, lie down and let yourself arrive. Maybe for a moment lengthen your legs out on the floor and be in that same position you were for the standing meditation. So in standing but lying down. And feel the length of your body on the ground. Let your arms feel heavy, let your shoulders feel heavy. And you can ease your head from side to side. Let your head roll to the right, let your head roll to the left. And then from rolling your head side to side, find a comfortable place where you can settle the centre of the back of your head on the floor. And then when you're ready, you're going to bend your knees and bring your feet to stand on the floor. And so in all of these twists, we're thinking about the shoulders staying settled and we're moving the pelvis and the legs. So the first thing you're going to do is just coming back to tilting your knees to the right and to the left. Good. And just seeing how that feels. So again, coming back to this familiar movement. And then you can pause in the center. You can fold your knees into your chest. Maybe have a breath or 2 holding around your knees. And then you're going to bring your elbows down onto the floor and have your hands off the floor. So your hands are either side of your knees. Your elbows are on the floor. Your hands are either side of your knees. That's it. And then you're rocking your knees from side to side into your hands. Good. That's it. So elbows on the floor, hands either side of the legs, just rocking the legs from side to side, seeing how that feels. So we've got this sort of feeling of the legs and the pelvis all moving almost as one unit from side to side. And then you can pause in the center. You can wrap your left arm around the back of your thighs. And then lengthen your right arm out on the floor at shoulder height. And then slowly as you exhale, let your knees come down towards the left. So you're lowering your knees down, using your left arm to support them. Trying to keep your right shoulder down on the floor. If you need a cushion under one knee, or you might need a cushion either between your knees or under the bottom knee, or you might not need a cushion at all. Or it might be that you keep your hand, your arms supporting your legs. It's quite nice to have the knees close to your chest, but what's most important is to find somewhere that feels comfortable, where you can settle. Giving the weight of the legs to the ground, letting the shoulders settle down. Now, sometimes when I do this twist, sometimes I find, oh, I could stay there forever. Other times it's like, oh, I don't really want to stay there that long. So if that's how it feels today, don't feel you have to stay there. You can come back to the center when you're ready, whenever that is, and you can move on to the second side. But equally, if it feels you want to stay there, don't feel rushed to move on. So it's just really important you stay in the twist as long as it feels helpful for you. And again, remember that you might want a cushion between your knees. So when you come back to the center, when you're going on to side two, swap your arms over. Right arm wrapped around the back of your legs. Left arm out on the floor at shoulder height. And just, every day, our body feels different. So one day we might do this and it feels very we can feel very lazy and heavy in it. Another day we might just, need to not stay there too long. So when you've had a few breaths on both sides of that twist, just come back to the center. Might even like to take your legs up to the ceiling for a moment, give them a little shake out, why not? Before we do the other twist. So when you've come back to the center, you've given your legs a shake out, then fold your left knee into your chest. Fold your right knee into your chest. Lengthen your left leg out on the floor. So right knee folded into the chest, left leg long. You're going to support your right knee with your left hand. So left hand onto right knee, that's it. So your right arm is on the floor at shoulder height. And then you can do a little bit of rocking. So a few times you could explore rocking your right knee over towards the left across your body, letting your pelvis come with it, and then rock out again. So, I like to rock in and out of this one. It's completely up to you. That's it. So we're trying to keep settled through the right shoulder, and we're rocking the right knee across the body over to the left. Back of the pelvis comes away from the floor. And then if you want to stay in this twist, you can, so you're rocking that right knee over towards the left. It might be that your left elbow can come onto the floor and you can support your knee on your left palm. So you make a little shelf to support that knee with your left hand. Good. Or you put your cushion there. And some people, sometimes, yes, some of you, like you're doing, Al, might want to lengthen out your top leg. You could even catch that's it, Sheila, catch your big toe, or support your leg with your hand underneath it. That's it, Lynn, you could put your leg on your bed if you've got, if when you straighten that top leg out, your foot hits a wall or a sofa or a bed, that can be really helpful. You can rest, yeah, that's perfect, Lynn. Good, you can rest that leg on the sofa, the bed. And this twist you might not want to stay in for that long. You might want to then come out and do the same explorations on the second side. So remember, this time it's the left knee that folds in towards you. Your left arm is on the floor at shoulder height. You're then supporting your knee with your right hand, and you're rocking that left knee across your body over towards the right, letting the back of the pelvis come along, keeping settled through the left shoulder. That's very nice. Yes, and then if you do stay in the twist, you can support the knee, your right elbow's on the floor. Yes, if you want to straighten that top leg out, hopefully there's a useful piece of furniture nearby. Or you can again prop your hand, your right hand under the leg with your elbow on the floor. Some of you might be able to catch your big toe with your hands. Good. And then have a few breaths there, and whenever you're ready, you roll back onto your back. Just have a few breaths on your back. Now, we're going to finish with coming and sitting and doing a little bit of sort of, I suppose, sitting meditation with the mudras that we used in the balances. So when you've had a few quiet, and you will get to lie down after that. So maybe just from your back, think about how you're going to come and sit. Alice, we have a nice little meditation stool. Very good. So you can sit cross-legged, you can kneel, you could have your back against the wall or the bed or the sofa. If you're lucky enough, like Alice, to have a little meditation stool, I'm sitting on a cushion here. So make the most of all the things we have around us. And you're going to start with your hands palms down on your thighs. And we're going to then go into jnana mudra and then dharmachakra mudra, this one here. And just perhaps with, maybe, we can be, balances can be very meditative, but perhaps when we're sitting quietly, it's even more meditative. So maybe a little bit of rocking or swaying to start with. So we get this feeling of the legs and pelvis settling down on the floor. So palms are resting on the thighs. That can be sort of quite a reassuring, soothing, comforting place. And from rocking or swaying, can we settle down? And maybe a couple of big exhalations where we let the shoulders come up a little bit and then we drop them down. So again, let the breath come in, let the shoulders come up, and then drop them down. Perhaps one last time. And then you're going to bring the backs of your hands to rest on your thighs, and you're going to touch the thumb and index finger together in each hand. So this is a very classic mudra. This is jnana mudra, wisdom mudra, when the palms are facing up. And we let the backs of the hands rest on the thighs. We can close our eyes if that feels okay. And let our attention settle with the mudra, with the hand position. So you can feel the weight of the hands resting on your thighs. You can feel the soft centers to your palms. You can feel the three long fingers. And then this point of contact between the thumb and the index finger. And it's particularly that point of contact where we let our attention settle. We're not blocking anything else out. You may well feel the flow of your breath, the feeling of your legs and pelvis on the ground. Be aware of sounds around you, the air on your skin. But we also keep coming back to that feeling of the contact of the thumb and the index finger. Especially if our mind feels busy, there's just this steady point to come back to settle with. And then from here, we're going to move into dharmachakra mudras. So bring your hands up in front of your chest, the right hand facing away from you, the left palm facing towards you, and touching the thumb and index finger of the right hand to the middle finger of the left. And then as much as possible, we want to be able to soften and settle with this mudra, so we're able to stay with it. So I've got my hands maybe an inch or two in front of my chest, and then letting my elbows drop, my shoulders soften. Resting my awareness with the hands. And here I'm coming back to what the hands symbolize in this position. The right hand facing away symbolizes the outer world. The left hand facing towards us symbolizes the inner world. And this point of contact between the right thumb and index finger and the left middle finger symbolizes the interconnectedness of inner and outer worlds, and also the need for harmony between the two. You can stay for another breath or two in dharmachakra mudra, but whenever you need to release your hands, you can do so. Let the palms come back to rest on your thighs. So when you come to rest your palms on your thighs, you can let your shoulders drop. And then before we lie down, you might like to fold forwards and bring your palms onto the floor. So feel the ground beneath your hands. You might like to fold further forwards. You might need to let your bottom come up to touch your forehead to the ground. And then when you're ready, you can settle down onto your back. And we'll take this same sense of awareness of our inner and outer worlds into our period of lying down. So settle down. It could be legs long, it could be knees bent. It can be nice to put a cushion under the back of your knees. Of course, have a cushion under your head if you like, a blanket. And maybe 2 or 3 big sighing breaths to help you settle in lying down. Giving the whole weight of the body from the back of the head all the way down to the heels. And perhaps if we start with this feeling of the contact of the back of the body on the ground, this is a really good illustration of the merging of our inner and outer worlds. So we feel the back of the head on the floor. We can roll the head a little bit if we like, to the right and to the left. You can feel the back of the shoulders settling on the ground, back of the rib cage, maybe some of the vertebrae, back of the pelvis, and then depending how you have your legs organized, either all the way down through the back of the legs to the heels. There are places where your legs meet the floor. There are also spaces. Or feeling the soles of your feet settled on the ground. Just allowing our awareness to be expansive. So what is present in the world around us? Sounds, air on the skin, presence of other people and animals, the light coming through the windows. And what's present within you? The flow of the breath, bodily sensations, the ever-changing flow of thoughts, images, feelings that move through us moment by moment. And as much as possible as we lie here, just allowing ourselves to be open to all that is right now. If anything, perhaps if any thoughts become too dominant, then bringing our attention to settle with our breathing, or to settle with the feeling of the body in contact with the ground. So in a moment, I'm going to ring the singing bowl 3 times and just let yourself carry on resting and allow those sounds to become part of your outer world. Just taking your time to come back round. Any movements you feel drawn to doing, you might feel drawn to carry on lying down. Thank you. No rush.